So I accepted to do so. First, I want to say that I'm really excited to be here. It's an honor to see so many young people, the future of Tunisia, all lined up in one place. It's a double honor for me today because I just spoke in front of the 100 top elite students that have graduated from the elite this morning and that have accepted their internships overseas. So this is really a special day. As someone who has gone through what you are going through right now in terms of school selections, and you have Saibi here, she will talk to you. I heard her last week talking about what it's like to get accepted to Harvard University. She gave you the undergraduate version, I think it was. I will today give you the graduate version because that's where I went to graduate school. But today is about you. Today is about the ideal city. Today is about the ideal world that we want to create and we want to be part of. And that is really why I accepted to be here. Because first, I haven't heard the word ideal city since my freshman year at the university. I read all about philosophy, and I was someone that was more of a math and a science person. I didn't know why we were reading, people who wrote 3,000 to 4,000 years ago about, democracy. But here it is today. An ideal city requires ideal citizens. And what the heck does that mean? What's an ideal city? It's a little probably too late for people like me. We're over the edge. But you, that's what we want to talk about. You, how can you be ideal citizens, aspire, reach your goals, have dreams, and build that ideal city, build the ideal world? The world we live in today is different than the world I lived in and the world that your parents lived in, and it has changed and it has evolved very quickly. Today, it's a world that is based not so much on borders and passports and visas, but more on what do you have to bring into this world. How can you contribute to make this world a better place? Each of you probably asks yourselves that question. How can I be a better citizen? What can I do? How can I contribute to the world that I live in today? It is more of an issue today. It's more of a responsibility today than it's ever been. You have tremendous responsibilities on your shoulders. I didn't feel it. I kind of feel bad for you that you have all this weight on your shoulders because there are so many expectations on you. And as I stand here, as I stood this morning in front of 100 like you, I am optimist. More so than I am generally every day living in Tunisia now, seeing the political realities of our country. But I've become much more optimist when I deal with you, when I hear you, when I teach in my classroom every Monday and Tuesday, and I hear that naivete, which is really good, because it is out of that we're born stars. I want to talk about how do you get there? How do you become that citizen? You got to build good habits. And we have a saying in the States, and we say, I'm not sure if it's wrong to say it, we say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, But you're young puppies, and you can learn all of the tricks in the world, and learn all the great tricks, and teach yourselves great habits. And you're sort of at a crossroad, cultural, technological, in every aspect. So you have a chance to do away with the old, like Anis just said, and pick up the new. Establish new ways of doing things. Get rid of the me generation, and let's build together a we generation. You probably heard that before. What the heck does it mean? What is a we generation? Does that mean that I as an individual don't count? This is not a political ideology. I'm just talking to you as citizens. How do we each contribute to this world, to this ideal city that we live in, so that eventually and ultimately we help ourselves through helping others? Issues that we care about. Becoming aware, becoming better listeners, listening to ourselves, as individuals, listening to our inner instincts and our senses, and then listening to others as well. While we're in Tunisia, we're great listeners. I have yet to meet a person who's not a good listener. We're all great listeners until we actually have to do it. But listening on the inside, listening to our inner instincts and our motivations is probably the first step that we have to take to become that ideal citizen. We have to become aware of our world, aware of our friends and our family and their feelings, aware of what we do well and what we don't do well. It is awareness that makes us take sort of an assessment of who we are. It is awareness that makes us take notice of the world that we live in. We have to become aware of the environment that we're in, social, economic environment, political environment. How can we contribute? Can we sit in the sidelines and watch what's happening and then later on say, oh, this is a terrible world that we live in? An ideal citizen, belonging to an ideal city, has to participate in every aspect of that. You have tremendous responsibility. I know some of you probably are not old enough, or most of you are not old enough to vote. But you are still citizens, because you are tomorrow's citizens. I was fortunate enough, I worked in the 2008 national presidential campaign for Barack Obama. Many of the people that have worked for us in the Boston area are high school kids, many of whom did not vote in 2008, but were incredibly active citizens on the campaign in 2012. 4 years of experience. Those are the people, like you, who will become the ideal citizens of the ideal city, if there ever is one. And there has to be one with your involvement. So now, you're a good listener, you're aware. What you need is to empower yourselves and empower those around you. Because alone, an ideal citizen cannot build an ideal city. He or she needs others around him. He or she needs others that are empowered. And how do you empower people? Power usually has sort of like a negative connotation to it. Authority, corruption. That's not the kind of power I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of power where you influence all of those around you in your circle of influence through influence and education and common visions and building communities of value. Like this. This is a great example. You know, lots of efforts by people who care for the same thing. You know, I saw Mr. Khaled speaking just a second ago, and he and I've actually never met him personally, but we've been friends on Facebook. And he's one of those people that bothers you late at night at 1 o'clock in the morning, and who wants answers to his questions right now and then. But I have to congratulate him and a couple of others like him. I had a student last night who wrote me, Mehdi, I believe his name, who his problem was that he got accepted to Harvard, Yale, Brown, Stanford, all the Ivy Leagues, and his problem is that he can't decide which school to go to, and he was very upset that I didn't get back to him on time. I sat there and I think to myself, we have people like this in Tunis. The hell I went through to get to Harvard University, and here's this kid who got accepted to every Ivy League school. I was envious, and I'm envious of a lot of you, you know, because you can decide by being good citizens, who are aware, who empower those around you, who motivate, because empowerment means what? And awareness means motivation. Not just for you, because you're already motivated. Motivating those around you, your circle of influence. Okay? And then making the right decisions. I believe that you already have made the right decisions to be here, to be part of this special group. But now you've got to expand that. Go beyond the normal. Go beyond the usual. Because it is there where you will find success. Success is not in sort of a vacuum. You have to go and find it. And it means different things for different people. Look at all the great success, however you define success, look at the person. You know, being someone that studied science and technology, I always look at the case of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, who got fired from his own company. You know, Steve Jobs, who has been called the nerd, who's been called all kinds of names. But to me, he embodies innovation, which is what we need today. You know, if someone asked me, said, "Oh, we need in this talk today someone to talk about economics." I'm not an economist, but I know enough to be dangerous in terms of economy. And so, without it, a country like ours cannot really think without innovation. We cannot think about the economy, and so we have to participate. And it is folks like you who one day, and I'm maybe looking at the next Bill Gates or Steve Jobs in the room, you know, and so it is by being different. It is by thinking outside. I hate the cliche, the word thinking outside of the box, but it is not by following the norms, you know, the systems that others have built for us. And you said, you know, yes, let's learn from the past, but also make our own rules to go forward. So I've talked about changing habits. I talked about creating new things and listening and being able to, and being aware and being able to include others. But I also want to talk about making plans. Making plans, and even though a lot of this stuff, a lot of innovation, for instance, happens accidentally, you know, whether it's in finance or engineering, or science, medicine, it wasn't just by happenstance that someone created penicillin or created some kind of a medicine that heals thousands and millions of people. They were prepared for it. They planned for it. Okay? Opportunities doesn't just land on someone. It lands on someone. If they're not prepared for it, they will not recognize. So plan. And how do you plan? And I'm not saying you have to have a to-do list here. I'm not saying 9 o'clock I'm going to do this, 10 o'clock I'm going to do. That's not at all what I'm talking about. You're far too young to have your day structured that way. But plan long term. Plan and decide on the kind of personality and the kind of things that you want to do in this world. What makes you happy? What is your passion? Once you determine that, plan to get there. Plan to reach it. If there's one thing that I want to leave you with here today, and that is, and it's the same advice I gave my son 4 years ago when he was going to university. Actually, I lied. I gave him this advice after he gave it to me a year before, except he didn't know exactly how to tell the story. So allow me just 30 seconds on it. My son got accepted to Harvard in 2005, and Yale, and Brown, and Stanford, and turned them all down. He didn't go to any of those schools. My son took the decision, without me being around, to not go to any of those schools. Because he said to me, "Dad, I don't want to be like you." And that was, my heart was broken. What does that mean? You know, when your son tells you, "Dad, I don't want to be like you." And so after much, I have to take a deep breath 3 or 4 times so not to kill him. I said, "Well, Jamal, explain to me." He says, "Your world, look at your world. Mergers and acquisitions and stock markets and hiring and firing and all. I don't want to look like that. I'm going to follow my passion." What I didn't tell you is my son's been playing guitar since he was 4 or 5. He's a famous guitar player. He played with Third Eye Blind and Boys Like Girls, and they just recently released a new album. And so he turned it down in Ivy League education to pursue his passion. And so he is a lot happier today. And if education, by the way, he did go to school and went to another university. It's not an Ivy League that allowed him to do both his music and things like that. But the point that I'm trying to tell you is that a diploma, we live in a world today where diplomas are important. I think, and this, your parents may not like me to say this, but diplomas alone are worthless in the long term. If your goal and objective is only the diploma, Don't waste your parents' money and go overseas or to go. Diplomas alone, and I'm going to say it again, are worthless if it's not coupled with a passion to learn and a passion to be a good citizen. Ask yourself today, what is that diploma worth in 5 years? If I do not contribute to that ideal city, the ideal world that I live in today, what values do I have today that I'm going to share with those who are less fortunate? What I didn't tell you is I come from a small little town, 10 kilometers outside of Sidi Bouzid. I am one of 15, and the first time I bought a pair of shoes, I was 14 years old. If today my world does not include in it helping people who are less fortunate, who I went to elementary school with, my diplomas mean absolutely nothing to me. They're worthless. So the ideal city that I'm contributing to is for those who are less fortunate to have the education. Not everyone is going to be like Lotfi or Shema and get accepted to Harvard. But I know many people who went to Harvard and any Ivy League school that are useless. They are contributing in a negative way to this world. So the diploma itself is not the end of all means. It is a tool that you should use to become a great citizen, to contribute positively. And if you don't start tomorrow, that would be one day that you will have wasted. So have great habits, plan, be motivated, and after all, you need to go into action. Because great plans are only great on a piece of paper. But you need to take them to the next level. And the next level is put them into action. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Expect obstacles and know that there will always be obstacles in your way. There will be people obstacles. There will be financial obstacles. There will be all other kinds of obstacles. There will be people who don't want you to succeed. You will be less disappointed knowing that today, and knowing that all you have to do is overcome it. I have a friend of mine who went to this venture capitalist fund at the MIT, at the Sloan School of Business, and they have these people who give you money when you have a great idea, and you prepare your business plan, and so you're a startup, and after you go the first round, which is the angel round, then you go for funding. And they give you $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, if they like your idea and they think it's a winning idea. Like Microsoft did until 3-4 years ago. No, less than that. 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, Microsoft became a public company, but before that, it was financed by private funding. These people only give money to those who have failed in the past. Never to those who have never tasted what failing means. Who was it? There was a Chinese philosopher who says, glory goes to those who have fallen and gotten there. Never to those who have never fallen. Someone to fail and get up. You scratch it all over your hands and knees, and you crawl to the finish line. It's a great story because that person doesn't give up. So understand that today. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. The world is counting on you to build that great city. Thank you.